Junior. You ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. It's 6:05 and we call this board to order. We do have a quorum. I'm going to say if the other two board members show up, y'all stand up and clap. So I think they're running late. I'm not sure what's going on. We have Ms. Merrick that's going to do the invocation, and then the National Junior ROTC that's going to do our Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Merrick.
Pray with me. Father God, thank you for your presence and peace in all that you do. Thank you for every person in this room that's here today. For each mind and heart that feels the presence of this room, we do say thank you. Father, as we gather this evening, we ask that you just be in our midst. Help us make decisions that are pleasing to you, and let this meeting be productive. Help us to keep you at the forefront of our minds as we do the work set before us. In your Son's precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Cut, over, march, left, 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 left. Colors, halt, left, face, freeze, and colors.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Texas Pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Carry, colors. Ready, cut, left, face, forward, march, left, 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 right. Colors, halt, is miss.
Thank you. Dr. Sanchez.
Okay. Do we have any citizen comments? Okay. All right, we'll begin with our recognitions, and we have quite a few recognitions this time of year. And so we're transitioning back from virtual to in person. So we will recognize the National Junior Honor Society in person. But before we do that, we will recognize quite a few of our students from valedictorian to academic, top 10, athletic scholarships, fine arts scholars and awards and sweepstakes. And so with that, Dr. Richburg. He's first in the nation. Yeah, well, a round of applause for all our scholars. I'm sure as y'all were reading through that, you saw the some national champions, state champions, and regional recognition, and just again a very impressive performance by our students at the middle school level, high school level, in academics, fine arts, and sports. And to think that all that was accomplished during a year in which some school districts never opened the door to students. And so definitely a recognition to all the students, but much gratitude to their parents and all educators and support staff in PISD. Um, if there's ever a question, I know that we'll have our graduates walk across the stage on Saturday, but if there's ever a question about why we do what we do, that recognition again highlights why we do what we do. Again, just a moment of pride for PISD. With that, the group that we wanted to recognize as our first group back in person is the national, is our National Junior ROTC, the Plainview King Trident NJ ROTC. And their award is for Distinguished Unit for the school year 2020-21. I believe the last time this occurred, it was almost a decade ago. And so last year we were almost at the point to where our program was about to lose its ability to offer NJROTC because of numbers. And so we go from that in one year to where we are this year, and it's a credit to leadership and also to the students and their leadership. So with that, I'd like to invite Chief to come up front and to introduce his, I guess you say, his squad to us. So y'all need to give me the technical term.
I think I've got about a minute here. If I could just say a couple of words.
Yes, sir. By all means.
Good afternoon. I'm sorry I had you on my back.
You're fine. You're fine.
Good afternoon. Glad to see all of you here. Come on over here. What are you going to do about myself? Well, I'm only going to take a minute of time. I tell you, I want to be honest with you. This is my 40th year of working either in combination with Navy or teaching. I tell you, I'm real proud of this bunch. One, COVID wasn't that something to overcome, wasn't it? For all of us. And we overcame it in many other capacities, lots of stuff. We had uniform issues, grooming issues, and haircut issues, and shoe issues, personality issues, and all kinds of issues. It's a living, and we had to overcome it. It wasn't this man's fault, it wasn't their fault. It was just things that just happened. And we all came together somehow, God bless him, and it just worked to where we were able to pull this off. And I told the kids it won't be that easy next year. You got to do everything you did this year, and then you got to do more. Because as Dr. Sanchez already alluded to, that some schools had their doors closed. But out of 54 schools in Area 9 that we competed with, 16 schools received this honor that we have this evening. It's the highest one that any of these kids can get, and it's very difficult to get. Eventually, you'll be getting some letters from our admiral and via Mr. Reagan and the banner, and we're just happy to be here. And I can't say any more than that, except I'm proud of all of you guys. And this isn't everybody. We couldn't get everybody here, but this is it. This is what we could get here. And we're finishing the year with 95. We had 114. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I'm very quiet, so I'm not saying anything, but I really enjoyed this year because Chief was the one that hired me or told me to get on board here, and it's good to have him back.
That was like 12, 13 years ago.
Yeah. Long time ago, but glad to have him back.
All right, Gavin Kelly, come on up, front and center. Andrew Mooney. This was typically looks like Russell. Dr. Sanchez can have some challenge for him. Andrew Holland. Caitlin Castillo. Bianca Garcia. Mia Garcia. Sisters. 1 year apart. Arlette Ortiz. John Reyes. Josiah Borges. Chloe Betch. Bella Besser. Zoe Finch. Siblings? Oh, yeah. Yeah, we have two that got on the email list late. Apologize for that, but that's the brother and sister. That is Alyssa and Santos Torres. You guys come on up.
We'll get a picture.
You want me to take this? We cannot get a second.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Oh.
God bless.
Awesome.
Good job. Proud of you.
I will say one thing that does set a very positive tone for the meeting. It's been a while since we have students in here, and so to transition from all online to the masks and all online to having the students here portends for a very good year to come. Under business items, we do have the first business item, which is consideration and approval of the nomination of two board members to serve on the Education Foundation Board. We do have two volunteers. One is Ms. Sofia Rivera, and the other is Mr. Tyler James. And so they both have volunteered and confirmed that they would like to be considered to be part of the Education Foundation Board with the other 5 community members. And their first task, if approved tonight, would be to work through the bylaws. And once that's all done, we'll send in for the EIN number, and they'll be off to the races on raising funds for different projects that the 7-member board will identify, or projects worthy of pursuit for the following school year. So with that, I'd like to make the recommendation on behalf of the administration for consideration and approval of Ms. Rivera and Mr. James to serve as Board of Trustees on the Education Foundation Board.
Board, do I hear a motion?
I make a motion.
We have a motion by Ms. Salazar. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Ms. Bass. All in favor, raise your right hand. 6-0.
Wonderful.
Motion carries.
All right, we'll get your names over to the gentlemen that are leading the work. The next item we have is a housekeeping item, which is approve the listed superintendent designees for TEA approvers. The first is Dr. Brent Richburg. The second is Dr. Rick Garcia and Mr. Wayne Jennings. They act with my advisement in my behalf on matters that require TEA login through the TO system, either to grant approval or to submit files and paperwork. And so they did a good job last year with it. And so with that, I'd like to recommend approval for the listed superintendent designee TEA approvers.
Board, do I hear a motion? We have a motion by Ms. Rivera. Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a second by Mr. James. All in favor, raise your right hand. 6-0, motion carries.
The next item is a very exciting item. It's consideration and approval of nomination of a board member for a position of the Texas Association of School Board of Directors. The nomination by our board president for this distinction is Ms. Bass. And so after some arm twisting, Ms. Bass has agreed to put her name in to run for the Texas Association of School Board of Directors, which we feel she will be successful. The competition can't touch her. And she'll be a voice in Region 17 for our entire region, but on the Texas Association of School Board of Directors at the state level, and the Board of Directors sets the priorities for the legislative agenda, as well as all other activities and actions and pursuits from the Texas Association of School Boards. So it's basically school board members leading the entity that helps guide and drive legislative policy, and then the translation of legislative policy to the policy that the board reviews and approves, that then runs the district. So with that, consideration and approval for nomination of Ms. Amber Bass as a board member for the position of the Texas Association Board of Directors is the recommendation on behalf of the district and as voiced by the board president.
Board, do I hear a loudly motion?
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Soto. Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a second by Ms. Salazar. All in favor, raise your right hand. Come on, Amber.
All right.
Do I sustain? I'll do it for my teacher friends and our region, our school district.
We're ready with the, Ivan's ready to record it, and we just said the only thing she has to say at the end is, "I'm Amber Bass and I approve this message." All right, the next item we have is another housekeeping item. It's consideration and approval to extend the student athletic insurance contract for the 21-22 school year with Texas Kids First. The price is the same as last year, $52,325. And so as you can see, it is not an increase. We've had good success with the insurance coverage, and we have had to use it a few times. But they've been really good, really responsive. Dr. Garcia manages this. And without hesitation, I'd like to, on behalf of the administration, recommend consideration and approval to extend the student athletic insurance contract for the 2021-2022 school year with Texas Kids First.
Board, any questions on this one?
Do we have any changes on it?
Dr. Garcia?
Any changes? No, sir. The only thing, there have been no changes. I know with the addition of the club of the soccer deal, I think that's the only thing that's in addition, but since it's school sponsored, everything in that place should be covered. As far as the prices, there was no increase, so it's the exact same thing as it was last year. And I'll be honest with you, it was kind of surprising because our claims this year were around $90,000. And normally they try to, you know, cover the difference in there, but it was we were very pleased with what they brought forward on the premium.
Have we been with them for Texas Kid Fest?
I believe about at least 6 years, if not longer than that. I think this is this will be the end of the third-year term for this one, and I know that we were the year before, so it's been several years. It's been longer than that. I think it's been like 9 years that we've been with them. But what we really appreciated about it is it's a no balance billing as long as we stay within the network and things like that. There are some, and it's been 2 occasions that I can remember, where a parent has had to pay outside of that, but it's because of the extenuating circumstances that we're in.
Okay, board, do I hear a motion?
I so move.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Bass. Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a second by Mr. James. All in favor, raise your right hand. 6-0, motion carries.
The next item we have is consideration approval of policy revision EIC local. So I have to give Rosie credit. Rosie is our policy guru because there was a question about Merit P. So we went to our EIC policy to look up Merit P, and we found that the recommendation of our policy for Merit P was to look at another policy, FG local. Well, FG local was taken out in 2017. So we still used that criteria for Merit P because it is good criteria, 4.0, good attendance, good grades, so on and so forth. However, when we called TASB, which does our policy, we said, hey, we need to get this Merit P piece updated and we would like to insert it into our EIC policy. And so Brooke is our policy person, and as we began reviewing our policy, we found that it was out of date and out of line with what TASB recommends. So we spent some time going over it, and if you'll take a look in your package, you'll see the multiple revisions, the strikeouts, according to our policy analyst, and I'm in agreement with her, should be in the handbook. And what should be in the policy is, this policy is really only for academic achievement and class ranking. And so what our policy analyst pointed out is that we had put everything in here that should be in the handbook. Now, the handbook is also approved by the board because we bring the handbook to the board each year. But if you put handbook items in policy, anytime things change, you have to come back and change the policy instead of changing the handbook, which is just a regular function of business. Each year, if there are rules or changes, legislative changes, we bring it in the handbook. So if you look through the policy on page 1 of 11, you'll see that the proposed revisions, what's in black remains consistent application for graduating class. You'll see the strikeouts. Those strikeouts in terms of levels no longer apply because they are no longer applicable. We have now 3 levels of recognition, not 2, going forward. You can see on page 2 of 11, all of that information would be in the handbook in terms of the calculation of GPA. If you take a look at what would be in the handbook in terms of the high level parts of calculation, district shall include in the calculation of class rank semester grades earned in high school credit courses taken at any grade level, but only in the following subject areas: English, mathematics, science, social studies, languages other than English, and advanced career and technical education courses. So if we were to list all the career and technical education courses, the policy would be excessively long. Those go in the handbook. You can see the exclusions. You can see the weighted categories are now honors, accelerated, and academic. Those are the 3. And then you can also see the weighted scale under weighted grade point average. You can see that we did remove some contradictory language. One gave weighted credit to incoming transcripts, but not to in-district transcripts. It hasn't affected anything with our current calculation for valedictorian, salutatorian, top 10. However, has a potential to because it's contradictory. You can see the criteria under transfer grades, and then on the next page under local graduation honors, again, you can see that that is referenced in other places, which again should be their handbook. Valedictorian, salutatorian, you'll see on 9 of 11, you'll see the criteria there. And then on 10 of 11 is a positive change, which we're changing, let's see, to be the valedictorian, you have completed the foundation program with distinguished level of achievement instead of with an endorsement. Distinguished level of achievement is a higher standard, which our valedictorian and salutatorian do meet, so why not put it in there? That also pulls us in line with other districts. Then under ties, this one I felt was real positive. If you have two people, two students, within the fourth decimal point are both at the same GPA, then we would apply to TA for two valedictory certificates instead of saying, well, we're going to go to the 6th, the 7th, or the 8th. So if they're that close to the fourth decimal point, we should recognize both of them. So that's a positive change. And so really those are the pieces that should be in policy. We will bring back the other components that will be in the handbook, and we'll go through those. Again, policy is a high-level piece. The handbook does detail the other components of it. And so this, again, gets rid of some contradictory language. It cleans up some things with multiple levels of students from different periods with different recognition levels. It cleans up quite a bit. And so we'll manage this now through the handbook process. I will be working with staff on that, and then I'll bring that back to the board at the point in time we bring the handbook. I'll pay special attention to highlight changes, and we've already begun discussing what those are. In essence, things that would go in the handbook would be if you're the valedictorian, but say you want to live out your dream of Grand Theft Auto, well, you're not going to give the speech. That's not in the policy. That should be in the handbook. So those are the kinds of things, according to our policy analysts, you need to distinguish in the handbook because that's more of the function of it. The policy gives you the high-level pieces. So to pull us in line with the TASB recommendations on this item, we really don't see any need to be outside of EIC recommended policy by TASB. Since GPA and top 10 and all of that is such a hot button topic, we want to be sure that we're as close in line with the Texas Association of School Boards as possible and not hanging out there on our own. So with that, I'd like to recommend the revisions for EIC local. And I'll be happy to answer any questions if y'all have any.
Board, any questions? No questions? Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion on the approval of the policy revision.
We have a motion by Mr. James. Do I hear a second? We have a second by Ms. Rivera. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0.
The team that will be working with me on the EEIC component that's in the handbook will be Ms. Dickerson, Ms. Straley, and Ms. Carter. We were the ones that began looking at it, so we'll finish the work on it, and then I'll probably get with Brooke again, who's our policy analyst, and go over it with her to make sure that what we have in the handbook is close in line with what other districts do, and then we'll bring it back to the board. Okay, the next item we have is consideration approval for mandatory state professional development over $50,000. You can see the total cost is $92,000. What we get out of House Bill 3 is about $700,000. So out of the $700,000, $92,000 goes towards training teachers. As you can see, we have 29 K through 3 teachers that would be scheduled to attend, along with 13 administrators and district personnel for the Reading Academy. This is conducted at Region 17. We'll also have some that will be in a hybrid model, which does cost a little less, but as you can see, the grand total is $92,000. This is part of the 86th legislative session requirements to be able to use and be in compliance with the usage of House Bill 3 funding. This is to ensure that teachers have consistent training for early level literacy. I do feel very good because we had been doing this before House Bill 3. We had been working with a balanced literacy approach. And if the board will remember, you've bought hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of classroom level libraries in both English and Spanish. And so those do fit within this. If there's any very difficult and involved questions, Ms. Garrett as well as Ms. Bartho are here awaiting those questions. And so with that, I'd like to recommend consideration and approval for mandatory state professional development over 50,000.
Board, any questions on this?
Don't let them off that easy. No, I'm just kidding.
No questions. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion on the approval for the mandatory state professional development over.
We have a motion by Mr. James. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Ms. Bass. All in favor, raise your right hand. 6-0, motion carries. You ladies are lucky. Dr. Sanchez must have given a good report during the work sessions.
Very detailed.
Try to. All right, so we have consideration and approval to award contract to paint the exterior of Coronado Middle School. So we're transitioning from baby blue to bulldog blue. That bulldog blue is a lot tougher than that baby blue or faded blue. It's the same color that you've seen on PHS, and you can see the amount is $15,475, and it would be completed by August 1st. I did have a chance to go through this morning with Mr. Danheim and take a look at the construction in the section that's being revised, and it looks amazing, the progress they've made in there. And also the addition that is on the south side of the building, we took a look at that. We were looking at the concrete slab and some different things and where they had polished it and grind it. Since we are looking at polished concrete, we'll come back later with another request because we want to take the carpet out and polish the concrete and all of Coronado so that we can get the outdated carpet out. But this particular item is, it doesn't make sense to do all that work on the inside and then have that faded blue on the outside. So we want to go ahead and paint that as well so that we're all bulldog blue. So with that, I'd like to recommend consideration and approval to award the contract to paint the exterior of Coronado Middle School.
Board, any comments or questions on this?
Is it gonna include the downspouts too?
Yes, sir.
And the lettering on the side of the building?
I'm not sure. Now, the lettering won't be because that's a metallic color, so we can look at that differently whenever it changes, if that's something that we were looking at, Dr. Sanchez.
Blue, right?
It is the same baby blue.
It is the same. Then anything that's baby blue will be painted the Plainview blue.
But we're going to change. Yeah,
If it's baby blue,
Okay.
then we're going to change that.
and that one we're going to have to change because it'll be, we can actually leave the Estacado Junior High School, but we'll need to change the Coronado Middle School to Coronado Intermediate. So we'll probably change all the signage there as well. We just need to match that.
Are those downspouts in pretty good shape?
They are, and I believe in one of these things that they were talking about is replacing those that needed to be, if they were damaged in anything to that effect. So we did the same thing here at the high school, and it's one of those things to make sure that we touch up all of those things as well.
And I can't remember, is this the same company that did the high school?
It is. CertaPro, is that right? CertaPro, it is the same company.
It looks really
Yes.
nice at the high school.
And we'll catch the band hall before the year begins as well. The band hall will be.
They've already started on that one, yes, sir.
I saw they started on the west side of it, and so they're making their way around. But that's a lot of roof to paint too, so it'll be nice to match that as well. So.
Any other questions, board? No questions. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion on the approval to award the contract to paint exterior of Coronado Middle School.
We have a motion by Mr. James. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Ms. Bass. Do I, raise your right hand. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0.
All right. Let's see. I look forward to coming back and talking to y'all some about some of the work that they've done in the interior, and sharing some pictures. But the one funny feature, there always has to be a funny aside, is we have all those mustard colored doors. And so you're going to have the new section, and you can't do like modern doors and then have the original section with the mustard colored doors. So we had to get with the interior design company that would match the mustard colored doors. So it's like a mustard orange looking color. So I was talking to Mr. Danheim, and he said, the funny thing is the interior designer was telling him these colors are all coming back. So if you got that avocado fridge from back in the day that your mom had, hold on to it. It's coming back around. So everything else will be timeless, and that we'll just have to wait every so often for it to come back in style. Uh, when we get to La Mesa, however, we are removing that mauve 1980s stuff that's all in there, that cabinetry. And again, with the new schools, that's why we're so focused on timeless colors and earth tones, so that we're not in the business of having to go back in and replace fatty looking stuff. So the next item we have is a little bit of an update for our gym. It's a consideration approval of purchasing a scorer's table for Plainview High School gym. This one is over 50,000. It's 51,619. It is using the interlocal buy board contract, and we did get 2 quotes for it. And what is exciting is this is a digital board, so it's like the ones you see when you watch college basketball or professional basketball, where it has the ability to scroll advertisement as well as who has the ball, who has possession, and all of the other features. So it'll look really nice, and it'll be a nice update for our gym. So with that, I'd like to recommend consideration approval of purchasing scorer's table for Plainview High School gym.
Board, any questions?
Becca?
It will arrive in about 4 weeks after we place the order tomorrow, so it will be installed before volleyball season. It's easier. Our maintenance partner will install, then an on-site tech will come and show us how to use the volleyball and basketball features. It's more of the technical side of it, not installation. And so it should be about 4 weeks. It should come, so hopefully by August 1st, we should have it.
Any other questions, board?
How many advertisers can we fit on it?
There is a company that is that if y'all approve this, we'll contact, and they'll sell it for us. And there's a potential in a matter of time to be able to pay for the thing with the advertisement.
Tie in with like whatever, the Education Foundation or a booster?
Yep.
Volleyball booster, basketball booster, can they be responsible for that and get that kind of stuff?
We absolutely could. Yeah, no, definitely. With the Education Foundation, we could subcontract it out to an Education Foundation to be able to do that with a percentage that comes back to the district. So that there is the ability to do stuff like that.
Keep it in-house instead of going out to somebody else.
But we haven't had that option unless we do it like boxing, where somebody comes with a card through the middle, and so it's not very feasible. But this is a lot better.
Any other questions, board? Comments? And do I hear a motion? We have a motion by Ms. Rivera. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
We have a second by Mr. Soto. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0.
That's a little bit of modernization, and then later on we'll come back and we have something else that we'll want to talk to you about in a few months that is quite comprehensive, but this is just a good start to that. The next item we have is consideration and approval by Board of Trustees for a qualitative research study for Mary A. Sanchez, a doctoral student at Grand Canyon, Phoenix, Arizona, Grand Canyon University, Phoenix, Arizona. As a matter of conflict of interest, I can't approve her dissertation study, and so it has to come to the board. I don't know if she's hiding somewhere here, so you want to let them know what you're going to study?
Or we can ask questions.
I gave them all a list of really complicated questions to ask.
I'll just hold it.
Is it on?
Okay. My study will be focusing on working with teachers in 7th through 12th grade, but the primary focus will be on students who have spent time in either the DAP or JJ and are re-entering into our classrooms so that we can obtain feedback on what type of programs are working, what type of procedures need to be set in place, what type of supports will need to be put in place, not only for the family, but for the teachers and for the students, so that they can become successful. Questions? And it'll be a qualitative descriptive study, which will mean that I will be conducting individual interviews with the teachers and then also focus groups. And that information will be shared with the district.
Board, any questions?
Do you gather information from all grade levels, like what leads up to that, or is it pretty much just high school focused?
Primarily because I have to I wanted to gather information from all grade levels. However, my dissertation chair, Dr. Hansen, has recommended that I kind of funnel it down. And so we'll just be I'll be gathering information regarding what are the best practices in order to help our students.
What made you pick this section? Or
I like working with students that are at risk and that just need that extra support in order to be successful. But what the research has shown over time is that a lot of times we implement new programs, but we fail to obtain the feedback from the individuals that are actually implementing it in the classroom. And so the educators and also the other individuals that are working with the students have a lot of input that and feedback that if we can implement it as part of a piece of the procedures and to see exactly what type of adjustments we may need, that the students will be that more successful. And specifically what I'm looking at is the exchange of social capital, which is like the exchange of the beliefs and the norms, that the transfer that occurs between the teacher and the student, so that the students are able to gain the skill sets in order to be successful, not only in the educational setting, but once they graduate.
I have a question. So, is this going to be just on the staff or teachers, or will there be any, people who actually did DAEP or JJAEP, their feedback?
I'm also looking at gaining permission from Eddie in order to also speak to his teachers, so that we can have that consistency between the two entities to see exactly if something's beneficial. And it's all about creating a long-term plan, not only for the students, but also for the staff. Because the other thing that research has shown is that a lot of times in our educational program, we teach the teachers the pedagogy just of good teaching. However, we fail to provide them with, or if you have a student that may be misbehaving, but because of certain outside elements, then how exactly do you go about dealing with that? And we do have like special education teachers, and they receive some of that training. But in terms of our new teachers, or even like our alt-cert teachers, because I was a probation officer before I became a kindergarten teacher. And in our studies, we're shown the good practices in terms of instruction, but in terms of the procedures that you set in place, developing the relationships with the kids, having good rapport, in order to help them just gain the skill set that's needed in terms of communicating with other individuals. What are the expectations? I think sometimes we take for granted that everybody knows the expectations of society, but based off of the environment that the student may find themselves in, that's the exchange that I'm trying to take a look at. When those exchanges occur, exactly how do they occur, and how we can take that and replicate that not only in classrooms here in Plainview, but across Texas.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, board? Do I hear a motion? We have a motion by Mr. James. Do I hear a second?
I second.
We have a second by Ms. Salazar. In favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. Mary, I feel like with this, even us as the board or as the school district, we're going to benefit, from your explanation, because it's something that I think we all here advocate for is our high-risk students. And getting your feedback on what you find from your dissertation, I think the school's even going to benefit. And
We're gonna get it for free. I'm looking forward.
All right. The next item we have is consideration and approval to award Hellas the contract to install synthetic turf field for the softball, PHS practice field, and then possible athletic complex baseball field. We will come back with a price on the last one. So this tonight is to approve the first two, which is to install the synthetic turf field for softball and PHS practice field. If you take a look in the agenda item, the softball field is $746,200, and the practice field, which is the field immediately behind the band hall on the high school campus, is let's see, my eyes are going fuzzy, $767,600. There is a $20,000 discount if we do them both. You can see the total is 1.493 million. We are proposing to pay for this out of the interest we have earned on the bond money, so this fits within the construction and building language. We did double check to make sure that it does fit within the language. Now, I'd also like to recommend two add-ons. One of the add-ons is for both fields to add the Ecotherm cap, and the Ecotherm cap, it's an additional $320,000. What that does is it keeps the turf cool. It's what we have on the football field. So basically, it's what we already have on the football field in the stadium. Without it, that turf with the sun can absorb some heat. The other one we recommend is the LED sport light system, and we want the alternative 3, which is an additional $290,950. What that does is it allows us to light up the practice field that would be behind the band hall. Currently, our band doesn't have access to a field other than the stadium for marching practice. I think they do it once a week, and so this would be available to them to use as they need. And y'all know in the fall the sun goes down early out here, and so of course staying within UIO guidelines and all. But those are the two alternatives. We'll come back and take a look at the fencing later, but that's where we'd like to begin. And anything we bring back that would be in addition, we'll come back to the board and ask for permission when we come back and take a look at the baseball field. I think, let's see, that covers it. Let's see. So as you can see, it would be the $1,493,800 plus $290,950 plus $320,000. That would be the price that we're looking at with those two add-ons. I would recommend the two add-ons.
Board, any questions or comments?
The thermo cap, does it help with like the lifespan of the field?
Well,
Of the surfacing?
Well, I think obviously by helping reduce heat, it will help your turf. Absolutely. Because, you know, the UV, you know, piece of that. But yes, the Ecotherm is, I don't know, most of you know this, but your field was the first field of the nation with the Ecotherm product. I should be thanking you because I probably sold about 20 fields from people just coming and visiting your field. It's just been such a huge difference maker. So, yes, I think it, you know, I don't have any scientific proof, but obviously it will help reduce the heat.
No, but that's on that the add-on is
Yes, sir.
softball and
The football practice field, yes, sir. It'd be on both. And we recommend it for both. I mean, just for the longevity, but also the comfort of use of it. And then, of course, the lights, as I mentioned. I mean, it doesn't make sense to have the field out there without lights. Later, we'll come back and talk about fencing and some stands and things of that nature that we'll need to put on the field behind the band hall to make that a good freshman or JV field. because what we're looking at is moving having a second baseball field or a primary baseball field that would also be turf on Hilburn 1 and 2. So if we lose Hilburn 1 and 2, we need to pick up another field, so the field would be behind the band hall. But the band would be able to use that for their marching practice because it would be a lined field. We'd also have it available for soccer and other sports that we've added on. So it just makes sense to do that instead of to continue to try to water with our water wells that are spitting sand, and the best we can do is like a yellow green. So
And then the freshmen would not have to be bused every day. They could stay there.
that is, yeah, that would save a lot of time and parents a lot of headaches for the freshmen who don't have vehicles to be able to just practice there. It would also help with some locker room space. We could look at existing locker room space we have there. Plus, as I mentioned, another project we have in the future where we will also have some potential for additional locker room space.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if we do get that done, we will have locker rooms for them.
Yes,
And that's John Cross parking lot.
exactly. Yes, sir.
You did mention about this is gonna be paid through the interest of the bond. Is this gonna cover it completely, or?
Yes, sir. We anticipate about $2 million in interest. If you'll remember when we recommended Prosperity Bank to continue to be the depository, that was when COVID caused everything to crash, but Mr. Glenn kept us at 2.1%. So it'll generate through August. That's when the rate will change to the new rate, which isn't as exciting as the old rate. I think it goes to 2.5 basis points. But it will generate $2 million. So it'll cover the cost of this. And then it also leaves $500,000 to come back and talk to you about for the baseball complex.
And we're still have enough in our fund balance to
Yes, we do.
push in there.
Currently, we're sitting at 32 million in our fund balance, and we do anticipate that we'll add an additional 2 to that before the end of the year. So we'll have 34 there that if we wanted to take the 2 that we would otherwise put in fund balance, put it to the baseball field, plus the other $500,000 that would remain in fund balance from this project, that leaves us with enough to be able to take care of what we're estimating between 2.5 million on the baseball complex, and still have 32 million in fund balance.
So upon approval of this, what time are we looking at?
The way that I understand this, and the gentleman here, Mark Ball, Coach Ball can also attest to this because we had that conversation. Once it's approved and once they get started, they're talking about 90 days. But he says normally it's less than 90 days for them to get that done. So that's talking about 90 days for the softball field, and Coach, correct me if I'm wrong, also 90 days for the practice field as well.
So might be pushing it to get it ready for this fall.
Right, yeah, maybe pushing it, but you know, one thing, those of you who aren't familiar with Hellas, we're the largest sports construction company in North America. We always get things done ahead of schedule, almost always. And I know our people will be pushing it. You're a great customer. You're going to get a lot of special attention. We just flew our vice president for our design build. She came down last week and spent the day here. She's the only woman who is a certified track builder, certified turf field builder, and certified tennis court builder in the United States. And she spent the day here. So, I mean, you're a preferred customer of ours. We're going to do everything we can to get that practice field ready to go.
I would just like to take a minute to thank our taxpayers again, because I know that bond was a huge stretch for our community, but this is the kind of money that we were talking about starting to generate, and that interest, and now we can go out and do those things, and our kids can finally have the facilities that all the districts around us have that we haven't been able to provide. So again, thanks to our taxpayers for stepping up and doing that for our kids. And if you look around the community, it's just exciting of the businesses that are coming in and people that are coming in. And I talked to realtors there are no houses because people are wanting to move in here. They're so excited about the new schools, and that brings restaurants and home goods stores and all sorts of things. So thanks to our taxpayers again.
And we feel this will also have a positive impact as we move forward because with this project, I mean, once we turf these fields, it opens us up for different types of games, different types of events, tournaments, and when we add the baseball field in the future, if that's something y'all will support, we'll have two baseball fields. We'll still maintain the one with the city, and then we'll have the one here, so we'd be able to have, two teams compete on two full-size fields that are competition fields. So it does open up a lot of opportunities, as did the bond with a second full-size gym at Estacado, and then full-size gyms on the elementaries. So I mean, it does open us up. We're in a great place between Amarillo and Lubbock and all of the smaller communities. And we had a baseball playoff game here recently. We had some softball playoff games here too, and the turf makes us more attractive and appealing for those kinds of things. And when people come into town for those games, they spend money because they go to restaurants and they fill up gas and they do other things and stay the night. So it's good for Plainview, for the kids, but it's also good for the Plainview economy. So this is an investment that the taxpayers did bless us with, that we're able to turn back some opportunity to some business owners and people that work here in town. So the grand total, thank you, Dr. Garcia, is $1,886,070 for the two fields and the alternatives for the thermal cap and for the LED sport light system.
I should have one more question.
Yes,
Is
sir.
it turf all the way around the bases?
Yes.
Or is there like an open spot?
The entire thing is turf. And and I don't want to get in the weeds, but with research and development, baseball and softball has really expanded as far as turf. The early versions that are 8, 9 years old now, you see where they wear out a lot around batter's box, catcher's box, in front of the mound, around the bases. Well, now we make those areas, and we provide you replacement panels for those.
So you can like remove the ball around the base.
Yes, and you have 3 sets of replacement panels in your proposal. We also, your football field is 46-ounce turf. All right, we think that's the best for football. The baseball and softball will be a little different because of the way the ball plays on it. But around those high traffic areas, it will be 80-ounce turf. So to give a little more durability, make it last a little longer. But when you need to replace it, you'll have your panels on site, and you can do those yourself. And while I'm talking about replacing and maintenance, I just want to give a shout out to, I've long known Dr. Garcia, but the last couple of years I've been working with Manuel Marin on most things. I'm going to tell you what, he does a tremendous job of taking care of your facility. Your field, I mean, he takes care of that thing. It is unbelievable. I think you're going to get added life to your football turf because of what he does. I know if he does it there, he does it everywhere else. So I just want to give a shout out.
Speaking of that, how many years does this type of turf typically last?
Well, when I showed you this Helix turf, and it's been around about really popular about 4 years. But really think because of the twisted fiber, it's not going to catch as much UV light, and the way that you're maintaining it. The warranty is 8 years, but I'm going to go out on a limb. I think it's going to last 12 years. I really do. I really believe that. And one thing good about Hellas, we make our own products, and so we use quality stuff. We make it right here in the United States. I think that makes a difference too.
Has there ever been any, I'm going kind of off the rail here, but has there ever been any research done in the way of safety, like ACLs, ankles, anything around bases? Like dirt compared to the turf? Cleats getting caught up?
Not that I know of. Not that I know of. Now, I will say, like our research and development, a lot of research on how the ball plays, how the footing is. One thing about our turf that I think is a little bit different is we believe you play on fiber. If you play on fiber, the cleat does not grab as much. The other fields have more rubber. We're gonna grab the rubber, that's where you get your ankle, and your ACLs, your MCLs, all those things. So, I mean, if you notice that just from being on your own field when you go somewhere else. And, your softball field will be the same exact turf, that you have over there. Just difference in the ounces for baseball.
No other comments, Mr. James, questions? Do I hear a motion? We have a motion by Ms. Rivera. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Ms. Bass. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Y'all just made the band really happy and a lot of softball girls really happy. And we'll congratulate those teams as we get into the summer next year. But our softball team and baseball team made the playoffs, so it was a good
We'll
year.
get to the baseball. We can't leave them out. We'll get
Yes,
there.
yes, we will. We'll get to baseball. Baseball's coming next month, so get ready. All right. Thank you. Next item we have on here is consideration approval of estimated charter bus services 2021-22. This one isn't as straightforward and simple because we used to use Kincaid and they were in Amarillo, and they're not in Amarillo. They're out of Oklahoma. So Becca's here to inform you all on how we're having to use them, a little Greyhound, a little Yellow Dog, a little activity bus, and it'll all work out.
This is Tyler's favorite expense that we have.
So, yeah, we do need 5 of them for the band, a couple for the football team. So, yes. All right.
All right.
Take it away.
Okay, so as soon as I get the football at varsity athletic schedule, that's when I start going out to Kincaid because in 2019 we signed a charter bus contract with them. And of course they were in Amarillo and they had great fleet, and then COVID came and they had to close their Amarillo office. They sold a ton of fleet. Now that things are opening back up, they're in the process of purchasing more fleet, which has given us this opportunity. Texas to Mexico also has reduced their fleet. Kings Highway in Lubbock only has 3, so it just cannot accommodate us. And so I sent the schedule to them. I started getting pricing back, and she sent it back with a red blaring October 8th, no buses for the Lubbock Cooper game because it's the Texas OU game. And OU is their #1 customer, and she goes, and I hate to tell you, you're not going to find any Texas charter companies to provide either because it's the Texas OU game. And so she wasn't kidding. I reached out to everybody I knew. I called Lori Coates with First Student, and Greyhound's not the favorite, but they can accommodate. And so Lori reached out and actually responded about 3:30 this afternoon, and I was able to secure a charter bus for the Lubbock Cooper game through Greyhound, or it was 16 Yellow Dogs and for band alone. And we don't have after school routes available. They don't get back in time for us to leave in time for the band to get there. So it really worked out, and I was very thankful that First Student came through with the Greyhound buses. So the pricing probably has changed just a little bit from what I gave you. So it sounds like a little bit of sticker shock, and it's a little bit of a combination. So I want y'all to understand, y'all have already voted on a budget for 2021. So I have August on here anyway, just to let you know the football season started in August. It usually starts after Labor Day. And so I have 37 that's just thousand coming out of this year's budget. So I just wanted to include that. And then the rest of the schedule is from September 9th to October 31st. And keep in mind, 2 of these trips are for band if they qualify to area and if they qualify onto state. The price could potentially be different as we already have buses going to Wichita Falls October 29th with band, but this is the most it can be. So I said, let's go ahead and price it higher. And then if they make it to state, then we'll take that savings a little bit. We just have to overnight drivers. And so the amount that we're taking is $401,743.92. I know it's expensive, and that includes the 75,000 with First Student. Okay, so part of it's going to be going to Kincaid. Again, let me add, $102,785 is if band makes it to area and band makes it to San Antonio for state. So potentially it could be that, or it could be 102,785 less. This does not include spring. And so keep in mind, we also have a band that usually qualifies for state in concert, where they go and choir does as well. We also have to transport middle school, and we just do not have enough yellow dog to transport back and take care of home to school routes. So this is just the fall charter bus schedule. This is not the spring. And so I just wanted, Dr. Sanchez and I talked about it,
Yep.
we'll be bringing the spring. And hopefully they'll be adding more charters to their services, and Amarillo will open up, and we will can bring the price back down. But guys, even this spring, when basketball was making playoffs and we were taking, it was next to impossible to find charters. And
We
it's
tried.
due to COVID, and it's just where we're at.
So if you want to make a lot of money, start a charter bus company. I mean, that's kind of the name of the game, because I think what we're talking about for fall is what we spent 2 years ago for the whole year. So, I mean, that's, there you go. Supply and demand. There's your civics
and
lesson.
again, there could be more playoff situations that are not included. So
Yeah.
we just have to take contracts over 50. But football can make playoff situations, and and so forth. So just keep in mind, this is for what I know now.
I mean, this could be isolated, right? Like, this would be just this year's. Surely
We hope.
surely everybody will start buying bigger fleets
Yeah.
and start getting some competition.
I mean, honestly, I looked back, and generally, I would say that it wouldn't exceed 300,000 in a year.
That's why
normally.
I'm saying that.
But this is just an unusual year. And it's a state year, too. It also pushes it up due to band potentially going to state.
But that's a caution that Becca and I wanted to give y'all, was that what we're asking for in the fall is more than what we've asked in 19 for the full year, just because of the supply and demand component of it. And if the resources are scarce, those who have them take advantage of that, and that's what they're doing to all of us.
But I would imagine they're pricing diesel in there is going to be a lot higher, so they've gone up.
Oh, yeah. I was looking at the unit prices. Even if y'all will look on your attachment that originally submitted, just even to go to Wichita Falls, it's almost $6,700 per bus. And it's just due to the drive time from Tulsa to here. But Texas and Mexico just had nothing. And I mean, we're just at the mercy of, it's cheaper than owning fleets of all these charters, I would think.
That's the only saving grace is, I mean, it is cheaper than trying to own and maintain our own, and we don't know how much cheaper, but I mean, it's cheaper.
They're expensive.
Yeah, they're pretty expensive, and then to have them just sitting there, not using them only to go out to games. Lubbock ISD has a handful of them, but they don't run a full fleet. They have to lease, just like we do. And we will use our activity buses to pinch it here and there as we need, and they tend to handle most of our junior high type sports and events. And we added an extra one of those last year or a year ago, so we have an extra one of those. But even with that, I mean, it's a necessity, because we run a big band and we run big teams.
How many did you say we take per football game with band?
We
and
take 2
football?
for the football team and 7 for the band. And we'll still probably need, something to transport equipment for band. That's just, that they don't have enough undercarriage for even all of what we need. So this is just the student portion of transporting students.
Can you repeat the whole total for Tyler one more time?
All right, thank you. $401,743.92.
You should sell all that tractors and combines and strippers. Did you? That's Tyler.
That's just what I call it.
Should be the
It's
Plainview
only
Bus
4
Company. All right, so with that, I would like to make the recommendation for consideration and approval of the estimated charter bus service for the fall of the 2021-22 school year. And then we'll bring back, as needed, spring.
Board, do I hear a motion? Tyler?
I'm so moved.
We have a motion by Ms. Bass. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second by Mr. James. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0.
And we are working on budget right now, and so, I mean, this is something that we've factored in. Okay, the next item we have are just the consensus agenda. We have two items on consensus agenda. One is the minutes for the April 15 meeting, and the other is end of year budget amendment number 4, which is just balancing accounts and eliminating any accounts that are in the red, making sure that everything closes out. And so with that, I'd like to recommend the consensus agenda as presented.
Board, any questions on this? No questions. Do I hear a motion?
So,
We have a motion by Mr. Soto. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Mr. James. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0.
All right. I will request a executive session. However, post-executive session, there is no action that I'll be recommending. It's merely an executive session to update the board on a personnel matter. But outside of that, there is no further action on the agenda, which means the high school people that are trying to plan for graduation can take off, and I will just need a few administrators. But after that, the rest can take off.
Okay. So let me, are you gonna dismiss them after we leave?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let me see. Trustees will meet in closed session as permitted by the Texas Government Code, section 551.001. A deliberation on the appointment, employment, compensation, evaluation, assignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of employees pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.074. Is that the one we're supposed to read?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. It is 7:24.
All right, so if I can get Ms. Pardo. Go to my office since it's personnel.
Okay.